Everything about it, since Cam Newton suffered his Lisfranc fracture to when he was released a couple days ago, was the height of disrespect, and as disrespectful as I've seen a star player, a franchise icon, treated in recent sports history in any sport. It wasn't just during the season, the Panthers allowing the nonsense to be propagated that even if Cam's healthy, maybe Kyle Allen's the better option. But then after the season, the yo-yoing of, oh, Cam's our quarterback, we're not going to trade him. Maybe we will trade him. No, we're not going to release him. And then they do release him. But then all of those things are just emotional damage. The real issue, Kevin, is when they cut him. Once you realize immediately you don't have a trade partner, then one is probably not going to come into fruition. And they didn't do Cam the service the Colts once upon a time did Peyton Manning, cutting him on March 7th, giving him the full runway to free agency. So a team, like in Cam's case, maybe the Colts would have signed him instead of Phillip Rivers. Maybe there would have been other teams who still had money available in free agency to sign him. Instead, they cut him after free agency. And Wildes, the best player in the history of their franchise, is left scrambling, looking for a team. I don't know who Cam did wrong, but he must have done someone wrong, Kevin, because they treated him terribly.
So Nick, I'm going to throw it right back to you. Do you think this was because they just wanted to be mean to Cam, or do you think it was organizational incompetence?
Yeah, I think it was organizational incompetence and that there wasn't someone. Dave Tepper is new. Matt Rule is new. There wasn't someone at a high level within the franchise to say, guys, he's the best player that's ever worn a Panthers uniform. We cannot do him like this. And Cam tried to be a good guy as he's been throughout his career, Jenna, tried not to create any controversy, and he ends up being left holding the bag, scrambling for a team.
Greg, I'm curious from a former player's perspective. If you're on a team and Cam is your quarterback and you see the way the team treats Cam, a former league MVP, letting him go, how does that sit with you? How does that sit with the locker room?
Well, it doesn't sit well within the locker room. What it does is it brings to surface what everyone thinks about NFL executives and organizations and how they treat players, which is there is no loyalty. It does not matter who you are, what position you hold. When you see it happen to players like Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, in most recent years, we saw it with the Raiders. Anytime there's a regime change, a head coach change that they give power to, and obviously John Gruden has a lot of power over there in Oakland. Khalil Mack, it was a shock. And as players, it's almost as if you want to be shocked, but then you come to your senses and you say, well, this is the reality that we live in that no one tends to really identify with. And they look at us as the bad guys when we want to solidify our financial futures when it comes to guaranteed contracts. And so look at Josh Rosen, first-round draft pick with the Arizona Cardinals. They switch out head coaches, GM, and they're like, well, Josh, the new regime doesn't really care for you. So we're going to draft another first-round draft pick. It happens over and over every single year. And players are getting to the point to where they don't have to be loyal to these teams, and they should not even consider being loyal to these teams because not a single team is going to be loyal to players.
That's right.
All right, Nick, if there's no team loyalty, then let me ask you this. Should Cam even feel disrespected if, as Greg mentioned, this is sort of the way it goes in the NFL now?
Oh, of course he should feel disrespected, and it doesn't have to be this way in the NFL. And for the smarter, better-run organizations, even if they have no emotional attachment or even if they don't feel any obligation or loyalty, it is in their best interest to treat their franchise icons well on the way out the door because other players around the league see it. Guys, when they are deciding to sign or re-sign with Carolina, They see what happened with Cam. To mix sports for a moment, people talked a lot about the contract the Lakers gave the late, great Kobe Bryant at the end of the deal, at the end of his career, pardon me, that it wasn't a great contract for their ability to compete right then and there. But it was a great contract for the Lakers, signaling to all the superstars across the NBA, you come here, we will treat you like royalty, and we'll pay you a little extra on the back end. If I'm anyone in the future considering the Carolina Panthers, or if I'm a superstar in the future coming out of college that could be drafted by Carolina, do I trust them that they are going to appreciate me? And do I trust that I want to put my career in their hands? So it's not only that I think it's poor form, that they could have given Cam his proper send-off more than a tweet, but it's also something I think will work against their ability to compete for championships in the future.
Kevin, hop in here. You think Cam should feel disrespected?
Well, I think he should feel disrespected, but I hope that respect will come when the market opens up for him, because I think there should be 31 teams that want Cam Newton. So listen, there's an idea here called think like an insurgent. It's a business strategy where you make your decisions based on what you don't want to happen to you. So if we had a coffee shop, we're like, should we sell donuts? Well, I hope the other guy doesn't start selling donuts, because they would have donuts, they would take our business. So I'm starting the Assistant GM Challenge. Like we have the push-up challenge, this is called the Assistant GM Challenge. Here's how it works to all the assistant GMs out there that are watching the show. You know what? And thanks for calling in. We appreciate your feedback. First step of the Assistant GM Challenge. 1, text your GM saying, wow, interesting news. Step 2, send a Zoom invite to your GM. Step 3, record the video. Step 4, tell them Cam is headed to your division rival. Step 5, record the horror and cold sweat that they break out in, and then share it on social media and tag your assistant GM friends. That will prove how much people should want Cam, because if he goes to your division rival, you're going to lose your minds. Assistant GM Challenge.
Okay. Well, that's something for them to do today, just in case they didn't have anything else on their schedule. So
Yes.
Meanwhile, all that aside, Cam Newton is left without a plan or a place to go right now. Nick, where do you want to see Cam land?
Well, I think the Chargers, for all the reasons they worked for Brady, they would work for him. The Dolphins could also work as well. I'll elaborate on that in a moment. But to jump off Kevin's point, and I don't say this often, Wildes got it exactly right. And this is something where teams can't, where not often enough do teams within the game or within an offseason ask themselves, what is my opponent hoping I do, and then do the opposite. I talk about this on 4th and goals from the 1-yard line all the time. Should you go for it? Well, your opposition is praying you kick a field goal, so don't do what they want you to do. I'm a Chiefs fan, as evidenced by everything behind me. If I got the text alert that the Chargers have signed Cam Newton, I am devastated. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. They're going from Tyrod Taylor to Cam. They're going from Phillip Rivers and his 20 interceptions to Cam. So if it would make the Chiefs upset, then the Chargers should do it. Wildes, you're a Patriot fan. If you got the news the Miami Dolphins had signed Cam Newton, you would be totally bummed out. So, Jenna, to answer your question, those are two teams that need a quarterback, even if Miami's going to draft one. If they draft Tua, he probably needs a year. And it checks Wildes' boxes, the Assistant GM Challenge of, it would really bum out everyone who you're competing with if you added Cam Newton. But, Jenna, those are the two teams, Chargers and Dolphins, that I think make the most sense.
Greg, where do you want to see Cam land?
Yesterday I mentioned the Denver Broncos. They have a young quarterback. Obviously, they drafted Drew Lock in the 2nd round. And Driscoll, Jeff Driscoll, to back him up. But I think Cam would be a great fit in Denver. I think Cam would be a really good fit with the Miami Dolphins. However, they have their eyes set on potentially getting Tua Tagovailoa. So you don't know how realistic that is. And so with that being the case, the Chargers are left out there, and they could potentially move up in the draft and try to grab Tua as well. And then the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots is probably where Cam Newton will end up. Why? Because of everything that Kevin just said and Nick just said. Bill Belichick thinks about, what about other teams? What aren't they doing? What can I do to make us better that other teams will dread? He's always done it, and he's always out in front of the 8 ball. And then we always look at the New England Patriots and wonder, why are they always back in the AFC Championship game, in another Super Bowl, representing the AFC? It's because they're led by someone who is a forward thinker. He's not moved by what it may look like or what it may feel like to others. He's like, look, this is going to make us better right now. We can take advantage of it. Let's jump all over it. New England Patriots is probably, I'm saying, nope, I'm not going to even say probably. That's where Cam Newton will end up.
Stresses Nick out, but Wildes, you're one happy man right now. Go.
No, you know what it is? YouTube videos I like to watch. It's called When Rappers Hear Beats, and it's the first time they hear a beat that they absolutely love and you know is going to be a big hit. That is just what happened to Greg Jennings and me. Greg Jennings played Pharrell and I played Jay-Z there. It's like, oh, that's a big hit. I just loved it. Greg, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. That was just wonderful. That was the best segment we've ever done. On this show.
I hated every part of it. I hated every part of it.
Quite hyperbolic, Wildes. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.